Hey, friends. Welcome back to the Portable Books Podcast, the podcast where we talk about everything happening in the book world, the opinions I can't keep to myself, and of course, what is currently on my nightstand. I'm LaShawn, and I am so glad that you are here, friends. Friends, I had an excellent reading week last week because I actually finished 3 books. Count them, 3. My attention span lately has not been the best, and I've been a bit free with DNFing books this summer. So it's been really good to actually finish a book, to actually finish more than one book that I meant to finish. But I will get into that later because I have some news I want to talk about and then some breaking news to talk about that leads us into our topic for today. So let's get started with the news. This broke last week, but it was announced last Monday that President Obama is releasing a podcast on Audible called A Great Book with Barack Obama. In this podcast, he's going to explore, and I quote, a collection of books that have influenced him with guests for each book. The guests have not been announced yet, but the books have. And I thought that was a very interesting list. This is a limited series with 6 books, so it's going to be 6 episodes. I'm really interested to see who the guests are, but here are the books. We have The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin, Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison, All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy, Gilead by Marilyn Robinson, All the King's Men by Robert Penn Warren, Tinker, Tailor Soldier Spy by John Le Carey. I think that's how you say it. I have, of course, I've heard of all of them but one. I have read 2 of these. So I'm really curious. Of course, Song of Solomon and The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. So and All the King's Men. I take that back. I think I have read that one. So I'm really interested in seeing what kind of format this is going to be. Like, is he just going to give a book review? Is he going to have conversations about it? Is he going to talk about, like, how is this going to go? Especially since he's going to have a guest. So I'm really curious to see what kind of conversations he has about that. I am really excited. President Obama gives us his summer reading list every year. And every year I look forward to seeing if I have read anything on his list. And usually I'm pleasantly surprised or not surprised by his taste as the years goes on. I can almost, like, I see books and I'm like, that's going to be on his list. Like this year he had Ken on his list and I was like, yeah, you're like the rest of us. But anyway, my only issue is that this is exclusively on Audible, on the Audible platform. I have to remember personally and remind myself that not everyone sees Amazon as, the big bad wolf or the big bad wolf to the evil or the evil bookstore destroyer that I do. I get it. I understand that even though they massive underprice their books, therefore cutting into the profits of small independent bookstores. Books just really are expensive right now and people are being priced out of buying them. And this is the only way that some readers can afford books. And before you get on your high horse and you say, oh, they can just go to the library, even library budgets are being cut now. And so sometimes it's taking months to get a book. And some people just don't want to wait. We still want to buy a book. So I cannot blame people if Amazon fits into their budget. Cheap mass market paperbacks are being phased out. And the average hardback book averages between $25 and $35. And that's a lot. And a special edition with sprayed edges can be $40. I mean, even like a paperback book, like this one, The Summer Girlfriend that I have back here, it's $20 for this paperback book. There was a time where this would have been like $9, $10 at the most. So yeah. So that's the thing. So I generally use Libro FM and Spotify for my audiobooks, but I recently rejoined Audible for 3 months simply to download the Dungeon Crawler Carl series because they are exclusive to that app. And I know me and I know the only way I'm going to get into the first book of this series is to listen to it. I rejoined at the lowest tier, so I will keep it up until all the episodes of the podcast are out, and then I will cut it off again. But it is what it is. It is what it is. The other piece of news that came out right before I hit record on this podcast, which led me to go in a completely different direction than I had planned. Don't worry, the episode that was planned, you will get it probably next week. After years of waiting for an announcement and then months of waiting for a book title, we finally have the next two titles and the descriptions for the next two ACOTAR books that come out in October and January, respectively. They are A Court of Splintered Harmony and A Court of Forgotten Melody, which, if you haven't read any of the books, that means nothing to you. But if you have, you are silently screaming like me. As of this recording, women, there is a synopsis. Let's take that. I have been waiting anxiously for the titles and the title covers because I've been feeling like they've been punking us for 4 years. So I'm extremely happy. I won't go into all of the theories about what the books are about. I'll leave that to the very rabid fandom. I'm really just reading it on vibes. I will probably reread A Court of Silver Flames and a Last Crescent City book, House of Flame and Shadows, to catch up, maybe. But really, like I said, most likely I will get distracted by other new releases or other books that are on my TBR and just pick up the books on vibes and hope that I remember. Because I read for vibes, friends. So now that leads me into my topic for today, which is romantasy books that I recommend that are not ACOTAR. Because, friends, ACOTAR is not everything. It is not everything. If you want to get into romantasy, there are so many books and so many more series out there for you to start and read. Even though, I love ACOTAR because I started when they started. But there are others because those books are for everyone. And the author herself isn't for everyone, if we are honest here. So just in case you want to read romantasy, but you're not quite sold on the world of ACOTAR, allow me to introduce you to a few other options, 10 options, as a matter of fact. So I've got 10 books and they are diverse. There is a little bit of everything here. I've read them all, and there are one or two that are not my personal cup of tea, but I still think they should be mentioned here because they should. They should. Other people have enjoyed them. They, like I said, they're just not my cup of tea, but I know lots of people who have enjoyed them, so I want to mention them here. So let's get into it. The first series I want to talk about is the Legendborne series by Tracey Deonn. If you've listened to this podcast at any length of time, you have heard me talk about this one. Legendborne is a YA fantasy that reimagines the legend of King Arthur, which is very unique in the romantasy world. After arriving at UNC Chapel Hill, Bree discovers a secret society of descendants of the Round Table and realizes that magic, history, and her own family's past are far more connected than she could ever have imagined. Bree is Black, in case you didn't know. She's a little Black girl. The characters in here are Black. There is root magic. It is so good. There are 3 published books in this series, and we are waiting on the 4th and final one. This is, if I'm honest, my favorite YA series ever. Actually, it's on my top romantasy series ever, too. I recommend it to any and everyone wanting to get into romantasy who wants a different sort of magic and a love story that isn't graphic, quote unquote. Don't get me wrong, the yearning is there, but it's baby steps. And it's a good intro if you already like fantasy and magic and you just want to dip your toe into the world of romantasy. The writing is impeccable. The entire series is 5 stars, but that last book, that last chapter in particular, Chef's Kiss. She got me. And I'm on the edge of my seat, and I cannot wait until she announces book 4. Hopefully, we'll be getting that sometime next year. The next book on my list that I want to introduce to everybody is The Poet Empress by Shen. Wei Lin is desperate. After the 5th death of a sibling, and with her family and village on the brink of starvation, she will do anything to save those whom she loves, even offer herself as a concubine to the cruel, desolate heir of the blood-gutted Azalea House, where poetry magic is power, but the women are forbidden to read. But in a twist of fate, the palace now stands on the knife's edge of civil war, with Wei trapped in its center with a very violent prince. To save herself and the nation, she must survive the dangers of court, learn to read in secret, and compose the most powerful spell of all, a ballad of love and death. I just finished this one last week. And again, like I said about the first book, the first series, the magical system is unique, along with this leaning more fantasy and romantasy. I think also makes it a good intro point into romantasy. I loved this book. The entire time I was reading, I wasn't sure if I was rooting for the main male character or condemning him to death. And that, in my friends, in a world of sameness in romantic books, is a godsend. I highly recommend this one. I gave it 5 stars, by the way. It is really, really, really good. And it keeps giving little twists and turns until you're not sure until the end what is actually going to happen. And I love that about it. The next book I want to talk about is Our Vicious Oaths by N.E. Devenport. Princess Khadijah is a warrior who wants nothing to do with fate politics, but a lifelong betrothal to the High King forces her into a future she never wanted. When a vengeful Fae King attacks her wedding and takes her hostage, Khadijah strikes a dangerous bargain with him. Help lure the High King into a trap, and he will spare her people. But as their plan unfolds, their growing attraction threatens to complicate everything. This is a standalone. And now, if you are looking for a spicy romance, here you go. This is it. In fact, on my newly made spice scale, we're going to put this firmly in the 4 jalapeno pepper category. This one has one of my least favorite tropes in it, but I won't say which one so I don't spoil the story. But that and a few other things made this not one of my favorites, but it is good. Like I can look past my own hangups and see that it was a good story. The spicy content does make up for anything else I didn't like. I'm just going to be honest right there. And it's good spice. It's good. It's really good. All right. The next books or series that I want to talk about is Vicious Bond series. By Shanora Williams. It is a trilogy and it is complete. So falling through a portal into a darker universe was never part of Willow's plan, especially not when the first person she meets is a dangerous ruler who turns out to be her fated mate. Bound by an ancient bond that lets them hear each other's thoughts, they must work together to find their way back to Earth while battling enemies, dark magic, and a monster determined to destroy them. But the closer they get, the harder it becomes to deny what fate has planned for them. I randomly found this like a couple years ago on Kindle Unlimited. I have 1 book left in this unexpected trilogy that I found, and my plan is to finish it up by the end of the year. Think Peaky Blinders, if you've ever seen that show, but make it dark romance. Again, awesome magic system, awesome spice. I'll give this one 3.5 jalapenos. Like the sex doesn't move the story along, but as the trilogy advances, it plays a bigger role, I guess you can say. So like it's between a 3 and a 4. It's not quite a 3, it's not quite a 4, but it's good. The next series I want to talk about is the House of Devil series by Kayla Edwards. It follows Lauren, a human whose life becomes entangled with Darren Castile, a dark slayer and the powerful and feared leader of the 7 devils. When her friend gets abducted and she needs help and protection, they team up, chaos ensues. I read the first book in this series before it was traditionally published. She had independently published it and it was on Kindle Unlimited. Again, unique magical system, a slow burn. So level 2 jalapenos on the first book. Once I figured out that this series was going to be 5 books long and the books weren't out yet at that time, I decided to wait. I had been burned by the ACOTAR series at that time and it was taking forever to come out. And I was like, I'm not starting an unfinished series era. So I would, when the books came out, I would buy them, but wouldn't read them. I've gotten over that era, but I tend to stick to duologies now. So I don't have to wait as long for the story to be complete. But anyway, I'm just getting ready to start the second book in this series, the whole series is getting traditionally published now. And so the second book was just traditionally published this month. And I cannot wait to dive back into that world. The next series that I want to talk about is Immortal Dark by Tigest Girma. This one follows Keaton Adane, an orphan heiress who infiltrates an elite university after her sister mysteriously disappears. There, she is forced to live alongside Sunyos Sagrid, a dangerous vampire she believes is responsible. As Keaton searches for her sister, she becomes entangled in a world of vampire politics, murder, dark secrets, and a dangerous attraction she may not be able to risk. This is dark academia. I don't know how else to describe it. Our two main characters have a very heavily enemies to lovers vibe. I'm even going to say a hate to lovers vibe. Yeah. There's a lot of tension, no full blown sex in that first book. So about level one jalapeno spice. But again, it's dark. Like she is really dark, like dark. And you find that out like in the first couple of pages. So, and just like a little warning, but it's a trilogy actually, because I think the second book is out and it's getting ready to have another book that's coming out. I think I can't remember when it's coming out, but yes, that one. The next series is War of Lost Hearts series by Clarissa Broadbent. This one follows Tisana, who enters a powerful magical order and becomes apprenticed to Maxentarius, a reclusive warrior with a complicated past. As war looms, their lives become tangled in dangerous magic, political intrigue, and of course, feelings neither one of them expected. This trilogy is so well written and it's complete. I love the author's Crown of Naxia series, which I'm currently reading the last half of. The first two books in the series were excellent, and I'm really kind of interested in this last two books. But anyway, this one, in my opinion, is the better written of her series. And it's one of the better written romantasy series out there, really. And it's one of the least talked about. Like, I hardly ever hear anyone talk about this. It is level 3 jalapenos. I have read up to book 2. I've read book 1 and book 2. And I've been putting off book 3 because I don't want the series to end. Silly, I know. And I will one day catch up to it when I stop trying to read new books and read the ones I already have. Anyway, the next series is The Wolf King by Lauren Palphreyman, a princess caught in the middle of a war between humans and werewolves. When Aurora is kidnapped by a powerful alpha, she's pulled into a dangerous world of wolf clans, forbidden romance, shifting allies, and secrets that challenge everything she thought she knew. I discovered this one by accident last year. It was like a book on the influencer program on Leroy FM. The first one was, I think the second one had just come out and they put the first one on there too. So for some reason I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, and downloaded both of them. And now I'm obsessed and waiting with bated breath for the last book in the trilogy to come out, because it left us on sort of a cliffhanger. Not really a cliffhanger, but it left us like, oh my God. It was supposed to be out this fall, but the author moved the date to next spring, which really hurt me. The official reason is that she said she changed the direction of the story, which kind of scares me, because I'm like, girl, no, the direction was perfect. But it was also slated to come out around the same time as ACOTAR. So there have been several books that have suddenly had to move their dates for various reasons from October. And I'm suspicious because the third book in the Kelly Hart Kingfisher series, that one, and there's another one too that moved. I can't remember which one it was, but they're all moving. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But I'll wait, because this one is excellent and, I want it done right, not rush. So the next to last book I want to talk about is The Everlasting by Alex Harrow. The Everlasting is about a legendary female knight and a historian who becomes obsessed with her story. When Owen is sent back in time, he finds himself caught in Una Everlasting's legend, where history seems destined to repeat itself. Together, they must confront the story, sacrifices, and forces that shaped her legend if they hope to change the future. This is another standalone, and this one the writing was almost lyrical. There is so much yearning in this book, and I could not put it down. It's more on the level of one jalapenos, but the story is just so good. It almost leans more towards fantasy than romantasy, but there is a romance in it, just not a lot of spicy times. And the last book series that I want to talk about is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gilling. This is a gothic romantasy about Sybil, a young diviner who receives visions of the future through her dreams. When her fellow diviners begin mysteriously disappearing, she is forced to team up with Roderick, a skeptical knight, while they traipse and try to find out what is exactly. This was one of my favorite books from last year. I love Rachel Gilling, first of all, and then I love, 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 love a gothic romance done right. And it is so rare. And this was done so right. And I cannot wait to dive back into this world when the second book in the duology, The Night and the Moon, comes out in 2 weeks, I think. Comes out on September 1st. I have to buy a copy for my shelves. It's my trophy book because the first book is just gorgeous and I need to complete my set. This was so unique and so well written and just so good. And I know it sounds simple when I say stuff like that, but unless you read a lot of romantasy, you really don't get how formulaic it could be. You really don't. Okay, so all of the books that I've listed today don't follow the formula and are unique enough to make it interesting. There are tropes for sure, but the books aren't written around the tropes. Rather, the story is there and the tropes happen to be in them, which is a huge difference in both romance and romantasy these days. So, yeah. Okay, so I hope you heard about a book today that you can add to your TBR, and let's get into what I recently read and what I am currently reading. Besides the poet Empress last week, I finished 2 other books. The first one was Paradise by Toni Morrison. Friends, I don't even know how to describe it to you. It's about what happens when the men of a small, isolated town are threatened by the free, independent women in a convent just outside of town. And, the trauma that ensues with that, I guess you can say. We read this one for the July pick for the Carnival Books Book Club. As you know, we are reading our way through Toni Morrison's body of work. And so that was book number 7. We're reading them in order of publication. Friends, people always say that Beloved is her most difficult book. That's the one people talk about. They're always like, oh God, it was so hard. I don't get it. I didn't get it. It's a whole ass lie. Paradise will have you chasing your tail and the story for all 318 pages. It is the last book in what she called the Beloved trilogy. And this is my first time actually finishing this book. I tried once before and DNF'd it years ago, sometime in my 20s. Friends, I will never read this book again. I not ever. And I am one of those people who rereads books. This one, no. I mean, it's going to stay on my shelf. Maybe a grandchild or one of my niece or my nephew will want to read it one day. But no, not me. This was my least favorite Toni Morrison book of all the ones we have read so far this year, and it's not even close. I mean, at least the other ones, I might have been a little confused sometimes, but in the end, I got where the story was going. I understood it because, it was a book. I read it. This one, if I ever have to pick up this book again, it will be too soon. Okay. It pains me to say this because Toni Morrison truly is one of the best literary writers of all time. But this was some bullshit. That's all I can say. I gave it a 2 out of 5. And I rarely give books anything under 5, but yeah, it was bad. It was bad. The last book I finished last week was the first book in the Murderbot series, All System Red, by Martha Wells. Let me tell you what it's about. In a corporate-dominated spacefaring future, planetary missions must be approved and supplied by the company. Exploratory teams are accompanied by company-supplied security androids for their own safety. But in a society where contracts are awarded to lowest bidder, safety isn't a primary concern. On a distant planet, a team of scientists are conducting surface tests shadowed by their company-supplied droid, a self-aware sec unit that has hacked its own governor module and refers to itself, though never out loud, as Murderbot. Scornful of humans, all it really wants is to be left alone long enough to figure out who it is. But when a neighboring mission goes dark, it's up to the scientists and their Murderbot to get to the truth. This is an Apple series, I heard, but my friend Lucretia talked about this I think on her stories, or it might have been in her newsletter. I don't know. And usually I love her sci-fi and fantasy rec, so I downloaded it for a quick listen. It was short and fast paced, just what I needed to get over how heavy and confusing Paradise was. And it was I gave it what did I give? I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 because it was just cute. It not cute. Cute is the wrong word. It was just quick. It was easy. It was digestible. I was invested in what was going on with the murder bot. I was like, is he going to be human like? I don't know. It's just really good, and I will continue on with the series. It's going to be the perfect little bite-sized snacks when I need to a change of pace from what I'm reading, or if I need to get out of a reading slump. I can see that really, really helpful. Yeah. Now, I just started reading Summer Girlfriend by Christina Forrest as my physical book. This is a fake dating scenario where Jeremiah hires Noelle to be his girlfriend for the weekend when he has to join his family at their summer house. It goes so well that they have to pretend for the entire summer to be dating, and you know where this is going. It is so cute so far, so I am enjoying it. It's nice and light, and it's a summer romance. And I started Era of Prophecy by Anna Sabrina yesterday on audio. Let me tell you what that one's about. Magic has always been at the periphery of Audra's life. As a human, she knows that magic exists, but it's as distant as the legends she grew up with. Until one day, magic returns, bringing with it all too real fae and upending Audra's life entirely. Abducted by a cult of fae priestesses, Audra finds herself conscripted into a magical war academy. The only hope of surviving this new world filled with guilds, magic, and danger is to band together with a group of her fellow prisoners. Though, unlike others, Audra's burgeoning magic is erratic and violent, just as the prophecy foretold. She must discover what it means to be the heir, but time is running out. The priestesses know the heir moves amongst them, and they're determined to root them out, no matter what it takes. As she struggles to master her power, Audra's plagued by visions of a dark, seductive being with a conflicting truth. He doesn't want to save the world. He plans to reclaim it. Now, Audra must choose, become a saver of the cult that the cult demands, or the catalyst division promises. I don't know if this is a trilogy, if this is just one and standalone or what, but I heard Michael the librarian talk about it on Threads, and the audiobook was available to me as an ARC, so I downloaded it. It's basically romantasy, dark academia, I think, and it comes out August 25th. I will let you all know when I finish that one what I think of it. I don't have a Kindle book yet, but I just downloaded Hear My Heart by Tay Monet, which is a little romance novel. So, and I think the main character is deaf, which is interesting to me. So I'll let you know if I get into that one. If I have time this week, hopefully I finish the books that I start. Okay, friends, that is all I've got for you today. As always, if you enjoyed listening, I'd love it if you would follow me on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. And if you have a minute, please think about leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or sharing the podcast on social media. It helps us to grow and find other bookish friends. If you'd like to connect with me, you can email me at pouringoverbookspod@gmail.com. And you can also connect with me over on Instagram and Threads at LaShawn Wills and TikTok too. Okay? All right, friends. I will talk to you next week. I hope you have a good book to read. Bye-bye.